Hi everybody, welcome back to Let's Enjoy This. So today we're going to talk about do's and don'ts for your practical kit for whether it's the aesthetics, nails, cosmetology, or barbering, the things that you should and shouldn't do with your kit. So first of all, when you arrive at the examination, you will have your kit. Do not arrive with a kit that has a broken handle. All of the kits have to be secured. I prefer duffel bags actually to these plastic containers, but you can use these plastic containers if you feel that that's going to be working for you. But I probably will do a video with a duffel bag to kind of show you the difference and why I like them better. So anyways, when you get to the site, they are going to check your mannequin. I'll use my Cosmo mannequin today. So one of the things that you do want to do when you have your kit is to prep your mannequin. So for cosmetology, you need to be able to trim at least 1 inch of hair here in the Washington state. And for the male models, you need to be able to trim a 1/2 inch. So prep your mannequin. If you have 12 inches of hair, maybe 11 inches of hair, you're going to have, it's going to be fine. So, wash your mannequin, condition the mannequin, and then prep whatever haircut you have to do because you want to be able to just repeat the work that you've already done. So don't bring a brand new mannequin that hasn't been washed, hasn't been conditioned, and hasn't been prepped for whatever exam you're doing. For the males in barbering, you make the cut that you're going to be making for the test because all you'll need to do is to trim that by a 1/2 inch. So bring a mannequin that's already got the cut that you want, and then you're just going to trim it 1/2 inch if you're in barbering, and you're going to trim it 1 inch if you are in cosmetology. I recommend bringing a very sturdy tripod. I don't think that having a tabletop is worth it. As you can see, this one's like 20 bucks on Amazon. You can probably get it elsewhere as well. And this will go just on top. You can put it in the car. You will have to wipe it down with barbicide when you get it to the site when you're prepping for your first client. But it provides you a little bit of space away from the table. You're not going to get as much hair on the table, and you can actually, turn the mannequin around. So it's much easier, and for when you have to do the shave for the guys, it's very easy to put the head back and then just tighten it. So there's a lot of good reasons. In cosmetology, you do have to do some teasing of the eyebrows. Being able to tilt your client backwards is very helpful. So whichever mannequin style you have to use, again, I recommend that you get one of these tripods, or if you're going to get it from the school, take one of the school's tripods if they allow it, because that's just a better way to go. All right, so now let's just get into the kit. I have the barbering kit in front of me, and so I'm going to go through the barbering kit. Again, whatever type of container you have, it has to remain under the table, and it has to be closed at all times. This cover can never touch the floor. Another reason why I like the duffel bag, because with the duffel bag, you just got to unzip it. You don't have to worry about holding on to several things at once. If you have one of these plastic containers, you're going to have to hold it in one hand, don't let it touch the floor, and then you're going to have to take out your containers, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, because you have a choice in what type of container you use. So these will go under the table on the floor. Once they do, you can put your cover back on, and of course this is going to be under the table. So I like these. You can get them at Target, Walmart, probably the dollar store. They're very easy to open, and they're very easy to see. And so I usually will roll these up and tape it, but they're just easier than the paper bags. And you can have any kind of container as long as it's got a plastic bag and as long as it's labeled in English on all four sides. So these come in various sizes depending on the type of project that you have. And what I mean by that is that this is great for barbering. I have a larger size here that I use for cosmetology. If you do get the larger size, here's what I recommend. These do fold in, so they're really easy and easy to take with you to the exam. But these and the larger ones can be a little clumsy. So go ahead and wrap this up in plastic. You can put it in, and so that way it all folds in together. But then when you go to unfold it, with whether you're doing one hand or two, it's just really easy, to put together. And you don't have to, scramble for it. So just keep that in mind. Or you can use the bags. If you use the bags, then you're going to want to measure the bottom of your bag, and you're going to want to put glue cardboard into the bottom of the bag so that it stands freely. If you get, whether it's Walmart, Winco, whatever type of bag that you're going to use, just measure the bottom, cut up some cardboard off of one of the packages you received in the mail or by UPS and glue that to the bottom and then put the bag on top of that, because that's, where you're going to need to be. All right, so let's talk about the kit. The first thing that you're going to want to do when you take this kit out of your car before you go into the testing site is you're going to want to make sure, number one, that this is on top, because this is what you're going to need to have on your table first thing, because you need to, of course, use the hand sanitizer every time that you go below the table. If you're touching something other than your mannequin and your tools that are on the table, if you go below the table, you have to have hand sanitizer. So when you open up your box, which is on the floor, you're going to want to use the hand sanitizer. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take out your universal kit. Universal supplies are marked, and you're going to take out your gloves. You're going to put on a pair of gloves, and of course you're going to clean the table, including the sides. So we want to make sure that you have the gloves that fit you. So one of the do's and one of the don'ts is make sure that the gloves are in the kit that you're taking are your size gloves. Some of the kits that you get from schools will have a large or a small, and you have to make sure these are going to fit your hands. So we take out our universal kit, and in our universal kit is going to be our tabletop and sanitizer. So yeah, they fall over, but that's okay. You always have the labels facing out towards the proctor, so you want to see the label in English. It has to be real hand sanitizer, and so you put that out there. I'm going to close up my bag because that's all I need right now. And then I need my Barbicide wipes, which is why I have the gloves on. I'm going to obviously clean the entire table. This is on the floor, so I don't have to worry about that. So after I clean my entire table, I'm going to clean the bottom. I'm going to clean the bottom. I'm going to clean my bag, and there it is. So then, of course, this is going to go in the trash. And if you have one of those containers, that's going to be great. So part of your universal kit, you're going to have paper towels. I do not recommend taking a full roll of paper towels. You're not going to need that many. So, when you get towards the bottom of a roll at home or at school, you want to put in a small roll of paper towels so it doesn't take up a lot of room. You're also going to want to have with you your checkoff list that you checked off before you packed your kit, which this says, letter with ID, my mannequin heads. So I've got Mr. Mannequin Head here, my clippers and guards, my scissors and combs, my stand, and my razors. So, whatever type of reminder sheet of paper you use to put in your kit that you're going to take to the exam, make sure this is on top before you leave so that you know exactly what you need to put in the kit before you leave. Always check your kit at least a day before, take everything out, put everything back in. Again, this is for barbers. So storing the kits, at the school or in your kit This is empty, and the reason it's empty is because you don't want bacterial water even on your mannequin. So you put the water in, this has water in it, right before you leave to go to your exam. So don't forget it. So if you need to make yourself a note that says, hey, put water in there, then leave yourself a note on the top of the kit that says put water in here, so you don't show up and it's empty. They do have restrooms that you can use right before the exam. So you could, take your empty bottle with you and go put water in it, but that's not what I suggest you do. In here, in this kit for barbers, I have two different ways that you can put your kits together. So I'm going to go through those. We have client number 2 and we have client number 1. I'm a big fan of Ziploc bags because they take up less room. You have a smaller container or smaller duffer bag that you can put things in. Everything I need for client 1, including the tools that I've added, are in this bag. And so that is good to go. You can also use plastic containers. Some people like these, as long as it is marked client 1, client 2, so you know which one to grab when it's time to grab it. For Cosmo, of course, you have 6. So you want to put them in order if you're going to use Ziploc bags, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you're going to use containers like this, client 1 on top, client 2 below, and just marking them to make sure that it's all together. You also have in your kit clean towels. It has to be marked clean towels. And so you want to make sure you have enough of those in case you drop one or something goes awry. Then for barbers, you're going to have your steam towels. Somebody asked me, why do you have a separate bag for steam towels? Well, because you have to wet these before you go to the practical. So the whole idea is to pretend that they're steamed. So again, if you have to leave yourself a note to add water to these, normally what I do is I would take the towels out one by one, set them on the counter. I'm going to soak them. I'm going to wring them out. They're still wet, and then put them in the bag to take with me to the practical exam. So that's my recommendation, and the reason why it says steam towels. So also wet towels stick to the mannequin face a little bit better. So keep that in mind. So you're going to have those in your kit. Don't wipe your nose unless you're going to use the hand sanitizer. Only touch the top of the hand sanitizer. Limit how much hand sanitizer you put in your hands, because every time you do, you got to wait for them to dry before you do something else. So that's that. Your first aid kit, why isn't just a blood exposure kit? Because you could actually get nervous or, forget and go past your first knuckle and you're going to cut your finger. And so you need to have at least 2 blood exposure kits in your kit for first aid. So that if, unfortunately you nick yourself, then you're going to have at least an intact kit for when you have to do the blood exposure portion of the exam. If you haven't seen the video on the blood exposure, there is one out there that I did a short time ago. So now let's just talk about our male mannequin for barbering. For barbering, you only have to trim a 1/2 inch. So you're only going to need like 2 guards and your clippers and your trimmers. So that is all you're going to need. You can see he is prepped and ready to go. It will be easy to take a 1/2 inch off of him and then to use shear work to blend the top. If you don't know how to do shear work and you're a barber, they check it very carefully at the practicals. So you want to make sure that you are blending this with a 90-degree, 180 on the top, and you use scissor points to blend it with the sides. So again, this is just going to be a trim. So you just got to pretend this is a client that I had that came in, 3 weeks ago, and he's coming back in for his new taper. And so that is what you need to do. At the exam, of course, you have to remember, you have to trim around the ears, you have no block line at the nape, and the sideburns have to be equal. So you want to cut them at the same place, and you want them the same thickness when you're doing the exam. And there he goes. So for client number 1, we used a Ziploc bag. I'm going to take these out of the way. Keep in mind that every label, real barbicide, real clean water, all face out towards the examiner. I'll put number 2 back in the kit because you don't take them out right away. So when they tell you to set up for your new client, first thing you have to do is wipe that whole table again, including the sides. So in here, I have everything I need. So one of the things that you need to remember is that if I'm going to be working on my mannequin over here, and this is where I'm going to place him, then I'm not going to place everything in front of him. No, I'm not. So this is going to go in the trash. I am going to set my universal kit up over here. I'm going to take Debbie off the table because we're talking about barbers today. So I have my universal kit in a Ziploc bag. I have my empty water container is in to be disinfected. This is in the to be disinfected. My checklist, which you can't bring with you to the exam, so don't make a list and then leave it in the kit because that would be bad. Don't do that. All right, so I have my shears. With every piece of equipment that I have a Ziploc bag. My label is in English. I have my shears, and I have what's called a dental napkin. You can get these on Amazon, you can get them on Temu, you could probably get them at the stores. But that is because I'm going to organize my workstation, and I'll show you how we do that. I also have my clippers, I have my trimmer, I have my cotton rounds, I have my toner, I have my shave cream, I have my guards, I have my spatulas. So once I take everything out of the bag or the container, I like to put things in the order I'm going to use them. So certainly what I'm going to put last is my toner and my cotton rounds. I'm going to have my spatulas and my shave cream. I'm going to have my trimmers and my shears. I'm going to have my clippers. I'm going to have my guards. I'm going to have my cape, which goes on to my client if I haven't already done that. And then I'm going to organize my clips. One of the things you get points for is organizing your work area. So they want to make sure that everything is labeled in English, and there it is. So cape is going to go on to with a Sanex strip. So in my universal bag, I have gloves. I have my neck strips called Sanex strips. I have an extra cape, and I have, of course, extra clips, and all labeled, just in case I have to get something, because I don't want to be reaching into the kit once they say set everything up for client number 1. Because if something is missing from my kit, I want to be able to grab it from my universal supplies. So I usually will tell you to take the gloves out. I'll tell you to take the Sanex out because you're going to be using them. And the cape, of course, will be on there. So now I'm ready to go. So as you can see, I have everything to the left side of me that I'm going to be using, but I have a big old blank space here where my mannequin had, which is in my kit, and now I'd have to sanitize my hands. And so I put him up here, right? And so now he's there. The proctors can see him. I can see him. I can move around him. I can move him because I always want to be directly in front of my mannequin. And so I can, when they tell me to set up, I can just grab one of my Sanex strips. I'm going to put the Sanex strip on him, followed by the cape. I like these kind of Sanex strips because they got a little sticky thing on them. It just helps it to stick, especially because it's a mannequin and you don't want it to fall apart. So you can also tuck it in, remembering that you want to put the Sanex strip, high enough onto the mannequin that, there you go. See, don't do that. Don't let it fall. So sometimes you'll have to tuck them in, and that's why I have like 8 of these Sanex strips in here. Because even, when I'm tutoring somebody and I say those things happen, I like it to happen so I can show them, don't worry about it. That's why you got extras. That's why I do this. That's why I let it fall. Because no matter how practiced you are, no matter how much you might do this, you're gonna, be nervous. Everybody is. Just a little bit, not a lot, just some. But, you make your kit early and practice with it. You can use a short cape like this, a little plastic cape. You want to make sure when you're draping, right, that you have more than enough room to go ahead and fold the next strip down. So I want it off the table. I want this to be in such a position that it is not going to fall. I prefer capes that are not Velcro. I prefer short capes that have a tie because then they're not going to come off. So one of the don'ts is check your capes because I got this cape and I thought it would be great and it's not. And the reason it's not is because it's a Velcro cape. And so this Velcro cape is just way too big for this mannequin. And so I would have to clip it, with a clip, which you can do, but no matter what, you do not want the cape to touch the neck like this. You want the cape to be underneath the neck strip so you can fold the neck strip down, and you don't want the cape falling off. Now I do, of course, have an extra cape in here, but check out your cape, check out the cape you're going to use, and make sure that it's going to be a kind of cape that you can leave on the mannequin. So this one's, not going to go with the kids, but check out the one that you got. So this, of course, when you're done using it, would go in the to be disinfected, the Xanax strip that's on the floor, that would go in the trash. So that is kit number 1. So I'm going to gather up client number 1, put stuff back in the bag, keeping in mind that all of these things for each kit, I like to have everything like right in the kit. Some people like to have things separate. They'll have their clips separate, they'll have their combs separate, all of those things. I don't. I like to have it all in one place. Number 1, it makes it easy for my inventory sheet, which I use, to put a kit together. And it's what I use to check things. So it's just a good habit to get into, is to have everything in one place. You can organize it once you take it out of the bag or the container. All right, there's that. Good for my next student. Look, see, paper towels fell on the floor. That would be bad at the exam, because then you have to unwrap them, kind of use disinfectant, and hopefully still use them. All right, when they tell you that it's time for client 2, again, this is the plastic container, and so we can use the plastic container. In here I have my razors, and so I have 2. Why do I have 2? Because just like those paper towels I knocked on the floor, I could drop one of the razors. Now I have them different colors, it doesn't really matter, they could be both black. They came like this, so I just thought it was nice. They also came in this lovely little holder, and so that was kind of cool too. And so again, what I wanted to show you about all of this is that as I use my tools, ta-da, this is a dental napkin. You can get them anywhere, as we talked about. And so I know I'm going to be using my razor. I'm going to organize it. I'm going to take out my shave cream and my spatula, and I'm going to set that out. Of course, I will have already put on the new cape. I have an extra shave cream. I have my toner, and I have my cotton rounds and extra cape. So all of those, these are going to go in my trash, and I'm going to close up the container. So there. So it can stay on the table, but I have my Xanax strips, I have my gloves, and I'm going to have everything here. Now, one of the things that we do have to remember when we're doing the barbering is that the instructions are going to be for you to do 1, 3, and 11. And so 1, of course, is going to be freehand downwards. 3 is going to be across the upper lip, and 11 is going to be across the chin. And it's always from left to right, left to right. Number 1 is down. What they're looking at, though, is they want to see that you know how to do the reverse backhand, right? So, we have our razor, and so for the reverse backhand, of course, you want to see your thumb. And so the reverse backhand, you're going to be doing it backwards. The freehand, which is 13 and 14, is the Adam's apple, short strokes. And then, of course, there's his chin. Underneath for 14, underneath his chin. So reverse backhand. So the first 3, 1, 3, and 11 are freehand. I think that's just a warm-up to make sure you know where the numbers are. And then, of course, you're going to use short strokes. You're going to have a towel that you wipe this on. And then you're going to do the reverse backhand. This one's not letting me very well. But you're going to do the reverse backhand because here is your across, right? And the reverse backhand, you want to see your thumb. So reverse backhand. And then on the Adam's apple, you're going to be standing behind your mannequin and going up over the Adam's apple and then up over the lower chin, on the lower lip. And you're going to be taking short strokes. You're going to be wiping this off in between strokes. And so you want to have all of that. So keep that in mind. Today, I just want to really concentrate on how the mannequin should be. For practices for those barbers out there, I would just mark the areas that you're going to be tested on. You have to know them all for your exams, I understand that. But I would take a mannequin and just mark the 1, 3, 11, 2, 13, and 14 so that you practice the practical on a mannequin and you remember where those spots are, because that's what you're going to be tested on. And then in the haircut, of course, when you do the haircut, you've done this trim. You're going to make sure that if you are right-handed, that you do the reverse backhand up against the hairline on the left side. If you're left-handed, you're going to do it on the right side. And then you've got to shave the rest of the neck. You also have to add toner and cotton, and that's for client number 1. So I know this was kind of short, but it is some do's and don'ts. If you have questions, leave it in the comments, or get back to me if you're one of the people that I work with, and we will go over this on Mondays. It's always practical day, so I'm hoping that we have a good session with people that I work with on Monday. All right, that is it for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Do's and don'ts of working for the practical.